Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om Sumukascha Yekadantascha Kapilo Gajakarnakaha Lambodharascha Vikato Vignarajo Vinayakaha Tumaketurganadhyakshaha Palachandro Gajananaha Vakratundaha Surpakarno Herambaha Skandapurvajaha Shuklam Bharadaram Vishnum Sasivarnam Chaturbhujam Prasannavadanam Dhyayet Sarva Vignopasantaye Yasyat Virada Vaktradhya Parishadhya Parasatam Vignam Nignanti Satatam Vishvaksenam Tamasraye Gurur Brahma Gurur Vishnu Gurur Devo Maheswaraha Gurur Sakshat Parabrahma Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Ishvara Pranidhanatva. That's a very important instruction from the sage. If you look at Sutra number 23, Ishvara Pranidhanatva. Now, last session, how do you focus the mind? First, the Rishi talked about the difficulty, the obstacles we have, our sickness, laziness, mental sloth, our sense of doubt, lack of enthusiasm, and we all crave for sense pleasures, right? Life pleasures. That's also forming an obstacle to it. And we look at things an incorrect way, a false perception, false understanding of everything that we do. So there is no drive. The drive within us is not strong to focus on Bhagavan. And even when we try to focus and get into concentration, we find immediately we don't succeed. That itself gives us a sense of despair. And that the despair itself, sense of despair, also acts as an obstacle to focus. Ishvara Pranidhanatva. But the Rishi says, don't despair, because all the obstacles can be removed if you keep on practicing ekatattvam, practice that concentration on one single thing. And that's the instruction. Now, suppose when if you cultivate saumyatvam, as they call it, with the friendliness towards people who are very happy, and somebody else is happy, you must be happy for them. And that, if you develop that, and somebody is unhappy, then we are compassionate towards them. And when we are in the company of the virtuous, of noble people, we are really, really happy about that. We really seek that. And people who are wicked and who are evil, we are indifferent to them. When we develop this type of a mindset, that also gives us the ability to concentrate on one given thing, gives us a peaceful mind. Or I can try and control my mind and improve my concentrating ability through my breath control. I can expel the air, then breathe in, and I can retain that air for some time, the vital air for some time. This also will help concentration. Or I can focus on my inner jyoti. Picture the jyoti meditation, as they call it. Picture the jyoti in your heart and how it spreads throughout each part of your body. Focus on that. That will help you improve your concentration also. Or I can start thinking about some noble Jivan Muktas. I can think of Ramana Maharishi or Paramacharya or anybody you want, or some various Bhaktas. It could be Dhruva, whoever you want. I can think about them, and their qualities will automatically be transferred to you, and that will help you calm your mind and help in your concentration. Or I can also recall a dream experience I had, or I can think about what happened, during my deep sleep. I knew I was there, but I don't recall what exactly happened in deep sleep, but I knew I was there and I was so peaceful. By focusing on the peace that I got from deep sleep also, my mind can be controlled and will be helped in concentration. Or you can just pick any form or any symbol that appeals to you as beneficial and as good. Any form of God that you like, but stick to one form, and whatever that attracts you, and just keep on ekatattvam, concentrating on that. That will help the mind to calm down and improve the concentration ability. The mind has ability, a phenomenal ability to think, to conceive of minuter than the minutest, smaller than the smallest, to the vaster than the vastest, the bigger than the biggest. It has that ability. So you can do any of these things, hold on to it, and focus that practice. Up to that point we came. That is up to Sutra number 40. Now, we will take up today, buckle up your seat, so to speak, because we're going to through some difficult Sanskrit words, and with Swami's grace, we will cover the next 10 or 11 sutras and finish and complete this portion of Patanjali Yoga Sutra. But the meaning of those difficult Sanskrit words and the similes that the sage uses are very simple, extremely simple, and simpler than even a child, I would say, a newborn baby. It is so simple. So don't be taken aback by some of the difficult Sanskrit words. Focus on what the meaning is. It is very simple and it will be very clear to you. So, Sutra number 41. China vrittehe abhijataha eva manehe grahitu grahana grahyeshu tat stha tat anjanata samapattihi. The next few slokams, the next few sutras, the Rishi, now he taught us the obstacles to concentration and how to overcome it, various ways to overcome it. He gave some examples, and that is not limited only to what he said. Any one of the 1,000 infinite ways that you can do it, right? Then what happens when you do concentrate and the mind is focused on one thing? Then we reach samadhi. Now he is going to explain, delineate, so to speak, about 4 different types of samadhis are there. He's going to talk about it. And then he also we're going to tell us at the end what is the true samadhi is, what does it feel like. And that is the subject matter for the next 11 sutras. So, Sutra number 41. Kshina vrittehe abhijataha eva manehe grahitru grahana grahyeshu tat stha tad anjanata samapattihi. Samapattihi is becoming one, coming together. That's what we call samadhi. Adi. That means adi means in the beginning. And so that's what is leading us to. So samapattihi is a form of samadhi, and where you become one with what? Manehe kshina vrittehe abhijataha eva. Manehe means it's like a crystal. Now when you put a crystal, it takes the color, a clear crystal. If you put it to a red object, it will take the color of red. If you put it to a blue object, it takes the color of a blue. Or if you put it close to a white object, it takes the color of white, right? So the Kshina vrittehe abhijataha, those 2 words, let me tell you the meaning of the word. Then you have to relate it to the crystal, and this is where you got to listen to the sage very carefully. Kshina vrittehe simply means, when you have no means for employment, no money coming in to sustain yourself. That is Kshina vrittehe. Abhijataha is when you're a very noble person, one of nobility, one of great lineage. So you're talking of 2 opposites here, and the way we take it to the manehe, the crystal, is how the crystal can reflect the divergent, even extremely opposite ways of happening. It's like that. Grahitru, grahana, grahyeshu. 3 very important. When you start focusing your mind on something, 3 things happen. One is you as the focuser, one you trying to absorb. the process of meditation, the process of concentration. And then the third is the object that is being concentrated upon. So that the Grahitra is the one who is concentrating, one who is doing the concentration. And who's doing the concentration? It is really our ego, isn't it? Our ego thinks I am this body, so I am concentrating. So it's the ego with ahamkaram within us that is doing the concentration. Grahana. Grahana is the process, the act of concentrating. And grahyeshu is to be concentrated, to be absorbed. That means the object on which you are concentrating. So those three, tat, stha, tad, anjanata. Anjanata, we know Anjana, the word we have heard. Anjanata means something like you put that black collyrium on top of your eye. It is, the collyrium gets applied on top of the eye. In the same way, the moment I do this concentration, through the process of concentration and concentrating on the object, what happens? That gets put on me, just like a collyrium is put on the eye, and it becomes one, I become one with it. The samapatti, I become one with it. So this is true in anything. It doesn't have to be concentrating on God. Even when if you focus on a Mercedes Benz and you want to buy it, automatically you become samapti with it. You become one with that thing, right? It happens in everything that we do in life. So this is a general definition that he is giving. Shina vrittehe abhijataha eva manehe grahitru grahana grahyeshu tat stha tat anjanata samapattihi. Sutra number 42. Tatra sabdhartha jnana vikalpaihi sankirna savitarka samapattihi. The first type is called Savitarka Samapatti, Savitarka Samadhi. What is it? That's the name he has given. And when you focus on a gross object of concentration, and then if you look at a picture of Sriman Narayana, and you like Sriman Narayana, let us say, or Rama, or Krishna, whatever you want, Shiva doesn't matter, or Ambal, right? Whatever you take, or Pillai or Hanuman, doesn't matter. Then you focus on that gross object, and then you also thinking about and concentrating on that object with all the attributes the object has. He's so Karuna Sagara, Hanuman, so full of enthusiasm, Bhagavan, all the characteristics that we attribute to that form. Along with that, when you concentrate, okay, even though you're concentrating and you're picturing the form of your favorite god or whatever other object you like in your mind, along with its attributes, along with its gunas, you're aware of the name of that, you're aware of the quality and the knowledge about that particular object that you're focusing on, right? All those things are in our mind. Along with that, when you focus, that samapti, and you become one with that, the moment you start thinking about it, you become one with it. Okay, the trick comes in to hold on to that length of time when one is one with the object you're thinking of. You can, even if you focus on, just take a pen in front of you or a pencil in front of your eye, doesn't matter, just focus on it. Okay, if you focus on it long enough, that object will disappear actually. But we don't do it long enough. So whatever object you focus on, along with its qualities, along with its form, along with its name, along with its the knowledge we have about that object, all those put together, when we are aware of all that, that samapti is called Savitarka Samapatti. Tatra, therefore, Sabdhartha Jnana Vikalpaihi. Sabdhartha. Sabdham is when you hear something, but all the senses through which, all the five senses, artha, the meaning of it, we have so many options. Vikalpa means options, choices. What does it mean? It means you have a choice to give whatever attribute that you want to give it to it. So that is the Sankirna. It means many, variety of, manifold qualities and attributes that we give to various objects, right? Along with that, when you meditate, it's called Savitarka Samapattihi. Tatra Sabdhartha Jnana Vikalpaihi Sankirna Savitarka Samapattihi. Sutra number 43. Now what happens? Next question comes. If I'm able to focus on a gross object and without its attributes, I just look at it, just the object itself. I'm not attributing anything to it. I don't have any knowledge about it. I don't give any qualities to it. I just focus on the object. What is it? That is called Nirvitarka Samapattihi. That is what Sutra number 43 says. Samriti Parisuddhau Swarupa Sunyeva Arthamatra Nirbhasa Nirvitarka. Nirbhasa means appearance. Okay. Samriti Parisuddhau Swarupa Sunyeva Artha Matra Nirbhasa Nirvitarka Samapattihi. And that simply means when you focus on the object without the attributes, gunas, various gunas we give to the various forms of God, we don't think about all that. Just think about only the object. That's all. No gunas, no attributes. Okay? And that's Parisuddhav. Samriti Parisuddhav. The mind becomes a little bit less agitated. It becomes more peaceful. Automatically you will do this. Parisuddhav, get purified. Swarupa Sunyeva. The rupam, the object that you're focusing upon, that whatever that form is, sunya iva. That means the form itself becomes less important. What that form signifies becomes less important. That sunya, it becomes less. So matra nirbhasa, when it appears to you, minus all the attributes and the qualities that you normally attribute to a form, that is called nirvitarka samapattihi. Samriti parisuddhav swarupa sunyeva artham artha matra nirbhasa nirvitarka. 44. Etayaiva savichara. Now it comes, what about if it is not a gross object? If I focus on something that is subtle, that is sukshmam, like I can focus on my own awareness, or I can focus on a light as opposed to a flame, or I can focus on a sound, Om sound. These are all subtle things, right? What about that form of concentration? There are two types on that also. That is what the Rishi is going to tell us now. Etayaiva savichara nirvichara cha sukshma vishaya vyakhyata. Etaya eva savichara nirvichara cha sukshma vishaya vyakhyata. If I focus on a subtle object instead of a gross object, then there are two types of samadhi there also. One is called savichara, the other is called nirvichara. In the same way, we distinguished and differentiated in focusing on a gross object, the two types. The same way, the two types can be differentiated and understood on concentrating on a subtle object also. That is the meaning of the sloka. Etaya eva, in the same way, savichara nirvichara cha. Savichara and nirvichara, sukshma vishaya vyakhyata. Sukshma vishaya, on subtle matters. Vyakhyata has been said, has been described, has been told. Etayaiva savichara nirvichara cha sukshma vishaya vyakhyata. Sutra number 45. Now, what about all this sukshmam that we're thinking of? What is when you start concentrating on a sukshma object, for example, the sky or the sound of Om, what is happening there? Looks like you have to infer things, and it looks like, even though it's formless, in our own mind, the kind of things goes in infinite, at the same time at a kind of a curved manner, right? It is not a straight line, right? It's all over the place. It's curving around in our mind, and we infer this is what it is. And our ability to imagine. First, you can start with imagination. Nothing wrong in that. It will lead you to concentration. And then when we do that, we finally arrive at this sukshma object, because it doesn't have a form, but we have to conceive of it some way. What happens in our mind actually? We actually arrive at something that we have to infer, and that is kind of like of a spatial thing. It's got curvature. When you think of space, automatically you think of a curvature, right? It is like that, right? That's the way it appears in our mind. That is what he is saying in 45. Sukshma Vishayat Ancha Linka Paryavasanam Sukshma Vishayat Ancha Linga Paryavasanam. Sukshma Vishayat, all these subtle matters. Ancha means to be curved. Like when you look at a horizon in the sky, or when you look at a spatial photograph, pictures taken from the earth, there is a certain curvature associated with it, isn't it? Nothing is straight. It's not a straight line or a flat surface. That curvature, anything that is without a form, you think it has got a curvature to it. If you think of your worries, for example, or if you think of your happiness, whatever, that itself has got a curvature to it. That's what ancha means. And linga actually means inference. Linga has got several meanings, and here the meaning is inference. You infer the sukshma object through this curvature type of feeling in our mind. Paryavasanam, you finally comprehend, you finally imagine and try to understand it this way. Paryavasanam, that's what Paryavasanam means. That's where your comprehension of it ends, gets terminated there. That's the literal meaning of it. Sukshma Vishayate Ancha Linga Paryavasanam. Sutra number 46. Now, when you're concentrating like this, whether it is a gross object or a subtle object, whatever these four types of things that the Rishi talked about, underneath all this, I still have my desires. I have not given up my desires. I still have seeds of desires within me. But I'm able to concentrate. Mind becomes calmer. Yes, definitely. Definitely agitation becomes less. But I still have the seeds of desire within me. That is what 46 talks about. Ta eva sa bijaha samadhi. These types of samadhis are all, they're all containing, they're all with seed. Bija means seed. In this case, it means seeds of desire. We are not desireless yet. So that is 46 is Ta eva sa bijaha samadhihi. 47. Nirvichara Vaisaradhye Adhyatma Prasadaha. Vaisaradhye is a new word, okay? Nirvichara Vaisaradhye Adhyatma Prasadaha. Now, Nirvichara, you remember the definition is what? You're focusing on a sukshma object, a subtle object, that without any attributes. It's very important. You don't give any attribute to that. Just to focus on it. Sukshma object. That is Nirvichara Samadhi, right? And he says, when the Nirvichara approach, that what happens? In that process, Vaisaradhye means your buddhi gets completely cleaned up. It's a cleanliness of our intellect within us. The agitations are subdued or become so small, and the buddhi starts shining. The dhiyo yona prachodaya, the dhi becomes strong. The vijnana maya kosaha, that's what he says. That becomes very strong. It becomes things clean. Internal purification takes place. When the internal purification takes place, that means what? all the dirt has been washed out, has been removed, like we wash a piece of cloth. Like that, the dirt we have are fundamentally 6 types of dirt, right? We all know that. Kamam, Krodham, Madam, Moham, Matsaryam, right? And all those are removed. So our internal awareness, our mind, the chittam, the antakaranam as they call it, that becomes purified. When it becomes pure, what happens there? A heart that is devoid of all the 6 vices, then we shine in our own natural self, which is nothing but love. That is the Adhyatma Prasadam. Our natural effulgence, we are shining in that. That's what happens through the Nirvichara. So, Vaisaradhye Adhyatma Prasadaha. Nirvichara Vaisaradhye Adhyatma Prasadaha. Now, when that happens, in that samadhi, in the Nirvichara samadhi, what happens? Then I become aware of the truth. Very important. I become aware of the truth. Of what truth? I'm nothing but love. This is what I think. It is like you go to your dining table and the light is shining above. And when you see that, when you walk into the dining room, you see the light on top of the dining table. And that is called the Dvaitic philosophy. Then you go and sit at the table and the light is falling on you. Then you are aware that I am in the light. I am in the light. That is Visishtatvaitam. Then when you realize I and the light are one, there's no difference, then that becomes Advaitam. This is he's talking about the Visishtatvaitam, where I know, I have seen the truth, but I still, the feeling of I, the awareness, as separate from the truth, so separate from the love, that is still present. Right? That is prajna. Remember, we talked about this definition in the introduction to Patanjali Yoga Sutra. Okay? So, Ritam Bhara Tatra Prajna. Sutra number 48. Ritam Bhara Tatra Prajna. Prajna is what it is. Okay? And you are aware of the light. You know, you've seen it. You're bathed in it. You're immersed in love. But still, the feeling that I am different from it is still persisting. Okay? But you've seen it. This is what completely filled with it. Because Vaisaradhye Adhyatma Prasada. You're shining in that internal light that you are. Okay? Ritam. Ritam means truth, Satyam. Okay? That Ritam, Bhara, supported by carrying that. Tatra, there, Prajna. This knowledge is effulgent. It is shining. You know the truth. But you have not become the truth yet. That's the final stage. Okay? Ritam Bhara Tatra Prajna. 49. Sruta Anumana Prajnabhya Amanya Vishaya Vishesharthatvat. 49. Sruta Anumana Prajnabhya Amanya Vishaya Vishesharthatvat. Now, what is this knowledge, prajna, that you get, is what he's explaining. What does it feel like to really know the truth? No, it is very different. The truth that you glean, that you get a glimpse of by reading scriptures, by keeping satsang and all that, that knowledge is of one kind. Okay, that you cannot be discarded. That's also important. But this knowledge that you get through anubhavam, through personal experience, like it is like the classic thing. One thing to know that puri and masala taste good, very delicious, and one thing to know that puri is circular in shape and brown, and masala is of this color, and you can describe the taste. Another thing to hear the description of the taste of all that. Yes, there is a certain amount of fact in that. But the moment you taste the puri and masala, what is the knowledge that you get? That is very different from all that you have seen and you have heard and you have analyzed and you have understood academically, right? The moment anubhavam, personal experience comes, the moment you see the truth by yourself, that knowledge is very different. That is the Sutra number 49. Sruta Anumana Prajna Abhya Amanya Vishaya. Sruta, whatever you hear. Anumanam, whatever you infer from what you hear and what you read, right? And what you think about. Because we also reflect whatever we heard. Satyam Vada, we take that instruction, we think about it, trying to understand it, right? And we listen to discourses and pravachanam and vakhyanam and we go, whether confused or whether we clarified, but we carrying a certain notion about it, that understanding. Okay, Anumana Prajna, through inference we understand. Abhya, all these. Amanya Vishaya, they are of one kind. They are all of one kind. So Sruta Anumana Prajna Abhya Amanya Vishaya. Now, Visheshartatvat, the true artham, the true essence of all the Vishesham. Vishesham, here you can take it two ways. All the objects, gross and subtle objects that we have been meditating upon, all have a certain essence. Only one essence they all have, right? So that is one way you can say Visheshartham. The true essence of all the manifold things, thoughts, emotions, and feelings and perceptions and everything that we go through, they all have one essence. So what is the true essence? That is a different knowledge. Or you can also understand it Vishesham. It is Vishesha Artha. It's a most sacred, the most perfect, exalted meaning, exalted knowledge of everything around. That is different. That's Amanya Vishaya. That's of another kind. That is different from Sruta Anumana Prajna. That's what he is saying. Okay? Sruta Anumana Prajnabhya Amanya Vishaya Visheshartatvat. Sutra number 50. Tajjaha Samskara Anya Samskara Pratibandhi. Tat Jaha Samskaronya Samskara Pratibandhi. Pratibandhi means to eradicate, to eliminate, to wipe out. So that's the meaning, okay, of Pratibandhi, to act contrary to. That's what it basically means, literally speaking. So what is it that's being wiped out? What is, like you got a slate and you make a clean slate or start with a clean paper, sheet of paper, whatever we have written, we erase it, right? Completely removed, becomes clean. What is being cleaned here? Tat Jaha. The moment you have the Ritam Bhara Tatra Prajna, that you've seen the light, you realize that you are in the light. I am that love, nothing but that love, that prema, that experience comes in, that from that Jaha is born. What is born? Samskaraha Anya Samskara Pratibandhi. What is Samskaram? Okay, let's understand that. There is Samskaram, there is Samskruti, those are words that we need to understand. Samskaram simply means all the impressions that we carry in our mind. Okay, it is like a data stored in our thing, and these samskaram, these impressions, they happen in thought waves, they happen in desires. Okay, they happen the way that we react to things or way we act, right? All these things residual in there, and the samskaram, through samskruti, we got to remove the samskarams. Or by doing good activities, we remove all these tendencies slowly. The more good activities, more satkaram I do, the more beneficial samskarams will be there in my mind. Ultimately, the samskarams also have to be removed. Okay? So, samskara, anya samskara pratibandhi. That means the mind has got so many samskaras, so many impressions and agitation that is taking place, that from the previous experiences and from the desires for the future, whatever we call it, it's a combination of so many things, it's there all the time. All that, with this samskaram, with this thought way, with this impression of knowing that and tasting the love that Bhagavan is, that tasting the love that I really am, by tasting that I get a certain samskaram, or immediately an impression comes. That impression wipes out all the previous impressions in my mind. Mind becomes clean. This is the real purification step before merging with Bhagavan. Okay? On all the other things that we do, they're all academic and they're all indicative, but the real purification takes place here at this point. Like what happened to Parikshit when he was listening to Sukamuni, but before he merged with Krishna. And that purification is very important. And tat jaha samskaronya samskara anya samskara pratibandhi. Tat jaha samskaraha. The samskara that is born from this knowledge of I am in the light, I am nothing but love, and tasted this love that is so supreme and sacred and exalted that I cannot even describe it, and so sweet it is, then that samskaram, tat jaha, from that knowledge it is born, that samskaram, anya samskara pratibandhi, all the other samskaras in my mind, pratibandhi, it wipes it out, it eradicates it. Tat jaha samskara, anya samskara pratibandhi. 51. Now the question comes, but what about the samskaram that has been created, that has happened by tasting this nectarine sweetness of Bhagavan that is within me, right? What happens to that samskaram? The mind is still operating, right? That samskaram also gets wiped out, gets erased. So there are no more agitations, no more thought waves in the mind. Then the samadhi that you get into at that point is without any desire. Remember, all the samadhis we have talked about have got sabijaha. They're all accompanied by the seed of desire. But finally, when you arrive at this stage, then the samadhi you attain is without any desire. You understand? So this is the amanaska stage that Bhagavatam talks about, that Parikshit entered before he listened to the story of Krishna and finally merged with him. So, tasyapi nirodhe sarva nirodhat nirbijaha samadhihi. Nirbijaha, without any seed. What happened? Tasyapi, at that point also, after this samskaram comes of the blissful samskaram of touching the lotus feet comes, and being at the lotus feet, not just touching it, being at the lotus feet permanently comes, that samskaram comes, that anandam comes, that also nirodhe, that gets destroyed. That gets destroyed also. Then sarva nirodhat, when like that, when even that gets destroyed, all the other agitations that have already been destroyed, what is left over? Nirbijaha, no desire, no seed of desire. That samadhi, that is the final samadhi. 51. So, that takes us to the first part of Patanjali Yoga Sutra, and we will revise this next Sunday class, and I will do that in English for you, so it is easy to understand and remember. You might want to review what we have done in the past few classes, all the way from Atha Yoga, Anusasanam, from Sutra number 1 to Sutra number 51, we just concluded. So you get an idea. Basically, it's talking about what is yoga and what are the difficulties in doing that, and how to achieve it, and what are the various types. And that's the kind of subject matter that Rishi has taught us. In the second part, he will be teaching us the practice, how to do this. Remember, he says all the obstacles can be overcome by practice. But then how to practice, that will be described in the second sector. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Samastalokaha Sukhino Bhavantu. Samastalokaha Sukhino Bhavantu. Samastalokaha Sukhino Bhavantu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om.